Ever felt like you were being watched at a gas station late at night? I wish I hadn't ignored that feeling. It was a night just like any other. I was driving back from my friend's place, a solid 3-hour trip that I hadn't planned particularly well. Around 2 a.m., the low fuel light blinked on, mocking my poor planning skills. Groaning, I pulled off the highway at the next exit, spotting the neon glow of a lonely gas station in the distance. This wasn't your brightly lit, corporate-owned station. This was the kind of place that looked like it hadn't been updated since the 1970s. A single flickering bulb illuminated the pumps, and the building itself was shrouded in an unsettling gloom. I almost considered chancing it to the next town, but the gas gauge needle was practically kissing. Pulling up to the pump, I killed the engine. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the hum of the distant highway and the occasional chirp of crickets. The air hung heavy and humid, thick with the smell of gasoline and something else, something vaguely metallic and unpleasant. I swiped my card and started pumping, trying to ignore the gnawing unease that was settling in my stomach. The only visible person was the cashier inside, a gaunt man with tired eyes who stared blankly ahead. He looked like he'd seen too many long nights. Suddenly, I heard it. A scratching sound coming from the back of the station. It was rhythmic, like something dragging against concrete. I glanced towards the back, but it was too dark to see anything beyond the edge of the building. My imagination, fueled by late-night horror stories, started running wild. I finished pumping and headed inside to pay. The cashier barely acknowledged me, simply nodding towards the register. The inside of the store was even more unsettling than the outside. Dust motes danced in the dim light, and the shelves were sparsely stocked with expired snacks and dusty cans. The air smelled strongly of stale cigarettes and disinfectant. As I paid, I decided to break the silence. "Here's something in the back," I said, trying to sound casual. Sounded like something dragging. The cashier's eyes flickered with something akin to fear. He opened his mouth, then seemed to think better of it, and clamped it shut. He just shrugged, took my money, and handed me my change without saying a word. That's when I noticed the glint of metal beneath the counter. He was holding something, a heavy-looking wrench. It didn't look like it was there for routine repairs. My heart pounded in my chest. "Thanks," I mumbled, grabbing my receipt and hurrying out of the store. Back in my car, I locked the doors and started the engine. As I pulled away, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The cashier was standing outside, watching me, the wrench glinting in the dim light. I stepped on the gas, not wanting to stick around and find out what he planned to do with it. For the next hour, I kept checking my mirrors, convinced he was following me. Every set of headlights in the distance made me jump. Eventually, I calmed down, attributing my paranoia to the late hour and my overactive imagination. But that wasn't the end of it. A few weeks later, I saw a news report about a series of disappearances along that stretch of highway. Truck drivers, late-night travelers, all vanished without a trace. The common thread? They had all been seen at the same gas station I had visited. The gas station remained open, seemingly oblivious to the ominous cloud hanging over it. The cashier was never questioned. I tried to report what I'd seen, but I had no real evidence. Just a gut feeling and a wrench glimpsed in the shadows. To this day, I avoid that highway altogether. The memory of that gas station, the strange cashier, and the scratching sound still sends shivers down my spine. What was he dragging? Who disappeared after I left? Was I next? I'll never know for sure, but I know one thing: Some places are best left unexplored, especially after midnight. The graveyard shift is always a little creepy, but this was different. This was the kind of creepy that crawled under your skin and made you question everything. I was working the overnight shift at the 24/7 gas station on the edge of town. Nothing exciting ever happened, just truckers and the occasional lost soul looking for directions. Until he started showing up. It began subtly. I noticed a flicker at the edge of my vision, a momentary distortion in the security mirror. Then, the bell above the door would chime, announcing a customer. Every night, without fail, at precisely 2:17 a.m., he'd walk in. He was tall and thin, almost gaunt. His clothes were perpetually rumpled, like he'd slept in them for a week. He always wore the same faded denim jacket, no matter the weather. But the most unsettling thing was his face. It was pale, almost translucent, and his eyes, they were empty, devoid of any emotion. He moved with a strange, jerky gait, like a puppet with tangled strings. He'd walk straight to the cooler, grab a bottle of Surge, the citrus-flavored soda that hadn't been popular for years, pay with exact change, and then vanish back into the night. Never a word, never a glance, just that unsettling, silent transaction. The first few times, I thought it was just a weird coincidence. Maybe he was just a creature of habit, a guy with an unusual craving for a discontinued soda. But then I checked the security footage. Or rather, tried to. He wasn't there. The chime would ring. I'd turn around to serve him, but the cameras showed nothing. Just an empty store. I started to dread 2:17 a.m. The hairs on the back of my neck would stand up as the clock ticked closer. I'd tell myself it was my imagination, that I was just tired and stressed. But then the bell would chime, and he'd be there, that unsettling figure with his dead eyes and faded denim. I confided in my coworker, Sarah, who worked the day shift. She laughed it off, said I was letting the late hours get to me. Maybe you're sleepwalking and ringing up imaginary customers, she joked. But even she looked a little unnerved when I showed her the security footage, or the lack thereof. One night, fueled by desperation and too much caffeine, I decided to investigate. I wasn't sure what I was hoping to find, but I couldn't keep living like this. After he left, again, at 2:17 a.m., surge in hand, I locked up the gas station and went for a walk, retracing his steps. He always seemed to disappear in the direction of the old highway overpass just beyond the parking lot. The overpass was dark and overgrown. Weeds clawed at the cracked concrete. The air was thick with the smell of decay. As I walked further onto the shoulder of the road, I could feel a chill crawling down my spine that wasn't just the autumn air. I stopped dead in my tracks. There, partially obscured by overgrown weeds, was a makeshift memorial. Faded plastic flowers, a rusted metal cross, and a sun-bleached photograph marked the spot. Kneeling down, I brushed away the debris and peered at the picture. It was a young man, smiling brightly, with kind eyes and a mop of unruly hair. He wore a familiar denim jacket. Shivering, I ran back to the gas station. I spent the rest of my shift huddled behind the counter, my heart pounding in my chest. As soon as Sarah arrived, I told her everything. This time, she didn't laugh. "There's an old file in the back," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "The owner keeps clippings of local news. I remember seeing something, a car accident." We found the file, tucked away in a dusty box. We leafed through the yellowed newspaper clippings, our hands trembling. Then we found it. A front-page article, dated 20 years ago. The headline screamed, "Local man killed in fatal crash." The story recounted the details of a horrific accident that had occurred just outside the gas station. A young man, identified as Michael Thompson, had lost control of his car on the icy road. He had died instantly. The time of the accident was listed, 2:17 a.m. Underneath the article was a picture of Michael Thompson. The same denim jacket. The same kind eyes. And in his hand, just visible in the grainy photograph, was a bottle of Surge. I haven't seen him since. I quit the night shift. The gas station eventually closed down. They say it's haunted, but I don't need to go back to know that. Some things are better left buried. Some things, some people, are destined to repeat the same actions for all eternity, a trapped echo in the halls of time, forever reliving their last moment. If you're ever driving late at night and see a gas station on the side of the road, maybe you should drive on. And if you stop, don't be surprised if someone comes in looking for a Surge at 2:17 a.m. Do you have a creepy story like this? Share it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this tale of terror, be sure to like and subscribe for more bone-chilling content. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Sweet dreams, or should I say nightmares? You won't believe what's trapped beneath this abandoned gas station. It'll make you rethink your next late-night road trip. We all know that unsettling feeling of being alone at a desolate gas station, miles from civilization. But what if the true horror wasn't the isolation, but what lurked beneath the cracked asphalt and rusting pumps? For years, the gas station on Route 66 just outside of Seligman, Arizona, stood as a testament to a bygone era. Its retro signage, sun-bleached paint, and creaky awning whispered tales of a busier past. Now, bypassed by the interstate, it was a relic, a curiosity, and the domain of Earl, the station's weathered and solitary clerk. Earl had seen things in his decades at that station. He'd seen coyotes eyeing the trash bins under the moon's glow, desperate hitchhikers with haunted eyes, and the kind of blinding heat that warped the very air. But nothing had prepared him for the terror emanating from pump number 7. Pump number 7 was an anomaly, even amidst the general decay of the station. A hulking beast of faded red metal, it stood apart, chained off and labeled, "Out of service," in peeling yellow paint. No one remembered the last time it had actually pumped gas. But Earl remembered the whispers, the stories passed down through generations of station attendants. Pump number 7 was cursed. He had always dismissed the stories as the product of boredom and too much desert sun. Until the knocking started. It wasn't a loud, aggressive hammering. It was a subtle, rhythmic tapping, like fingernails scraping against metal, emanating from the underground tank connected to the pump. At first, Earl attributed it to rats or settling earth. But the knocking persisted, growing more insistent with each passing night. He even checked for stray dogs, but found nothing. Just an eerie silence punctuated by the chilling knocks. Then came the nightmares. Earl, a man who normally slept like a rock, was plagued by visions of oily black water churning in the tank, grotesque figures clawing at the metal walls, desperate to escape. He woke up screaming, his sweat soaking through his pajamas. He tried ignoring them, reasoning away. The other regulars who trickled through the station noticed Earl's decline. His normally gruff demeanor became even more withdrawn, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. They offered him condolences and advice about maybe seeing a doctor or taking a vacation. He appreciated the thought but couldn't bring himself to speak about the knocking, about the horrors that now invaded his sleep. They'd think he'd gone completely mad. Then came the night of the incident. Earl was stocking the shelves, humming a mournful tune under his breath, when he heard it. A clanging, a scraping, and a distinct whirring sound. He froze, his blood turning to ice in his veins. He crept to the window and stared out at pump number 7. The pump handle was moving. Slowly, mechanically, it creaked up and down, as if someone, or something, were operating it. The rusted gears whined in protest, adding to the macabre symphony. Earl stumbled back, his breath caught in his throat. He couldn't move, couldn't scream, couldn't tear his gaze away from the horrific display. Then the hose detached. With a metallic clang, it dropped to the ground, writhing like a severed limb. A viscous, black liquid began to seep from the nozzle, forming a puddle that shimmered ominously under the dim glow of the security light. The stench was unbearable, a nauseating mix of decay and sulfur. Earl finally found his voice. A strangled yell ripped through the night. He stumbled backward, grabbed his shotgun from behind the counter, and aimed it at pump number 7. He knew it was insane, pointing a gun at a machine, but he couldn't help himself. "Stay back," he croaked, his voice trembling. "Stay back, whatever you are." The pump stopped moving. The hose lay still. The black liquid continued to spread, a growing stain on the cracked asphalt. For what felt like an eternity, Earl stood there, his finger on the trigger, his heart pounding against his ribs. Then, slowly, cautiously, he lowered the gun. He took a shaky breath and stared at the pump. He couldn't explain what happened. He wanted to dismiss it, convince himself it was a hallucination brought on by exhaustion and paranoia. But he couldn't. That night, Earl decided to take matters into his own hands. He wasn't sleeping anyway. As dawn broke, he grabbed a shovel and walked towards the abandoned fuel pump. He started digging, despite being exhausted, despite the gnawing fear in his chest, driven by an insatiable curiosity, by a need to know what was making the banging. He shoveled and shoveled through the Arizona hardpan until he felt something. A metallic clang against his shovel was followed by an unearthing of a door. The heavy metal hatch of the abandoned fuel tank that stretched underground for many yards. Earl fought with the rusty handle until it reluctantly released. Peering into the darkness of the old fuel tank was akin to looking into hell itself. The smell alone made his eyes water, let alone when his eyes could finally adjust to the darkness to make out skeletal remains. Human. At least a dozen. He recoiled from the grisly discovery, his mind struggling to process the scene. The mystery of pump number 7 had been solved, but the truth was far more horrifying than any ghost story. Earl was unsure of what to do. Should he call the police and attempt to explain what led to the finding? Or should he pack up shop and abandon the gas station entirely, never to return? This brings the question to you, dear viewers. What do you think Earl did? Have you ever seen or heard something you couldn't explain? What would you do? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling tales of the unexplained. Sweet dreams.